I want to welcome you to Java programming. Let's go ahead and start talking about condition statements. If, if, and else. So I've got three integers, x, y, and z, and there are the values. So what I want to do first is I want to run through a comparison. Let's go ahead and start with an if statement. If x, we use the double equal sign. That's called the logical comparison operator. This curly brace is the beginning of the if body, and this curly brace is the ending of the if body. And so what do I want to do if x really is 5? And so I'm just going to make a simple print line statement, and I'm going to say the value is 5. Now what if that condition fails? Well, then I'm going to type else if x equals, let's say, -1, then I'm going to print the statement, the value of x is -1. Now what if all of these conditions fail? So it's not 5, it's not -1, and I want a catch-all statement that just catches if all the other conditions fail. Well, then I'll just type else, and I'm going to make a print line statement here. And the print line statement is the value of x is something else. All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to compile, I'm going to execute, show you what I get. Now clearly x is 5, so it will run through this conditional statement. This will turn out to be true. So because it's true, it will run this line of code, and it will bypass the code on the else if and the else. It won't execute those lines. And so there it is. The value of x is 5. Let me change the value, -1. The value of x is -1. And now let me just make x something else. Well, the value of x is something else. And so this is how conditional statements work. Now, it's important that you understand how else if statements works. Else if statements must always follow an if. You will never conclude, or you should never put, let me put it this way, you should never put an else statement preceding an else if. That won't work. It just won't work. Else, if you're going to use an else at all, it always needs to be at the end. Okay? Let's switch things up a little bit. Okay? Let's say if y equals -4, and let's just print something silly. Fred, if y is less than 0, Susan. And let's see what happens. It prints both Fred and Susan. Well, here's the reason why. I didn't follow this with an else if. I followed the if with another if. So what it will do is it will run this comparison. Is y equal to -4? Well, it is. So it runs this print line statement. But because this isn't an else, it's an if, it will then jump into this if and do this comparison. Is y less than 0? Well, -4 is less than 0. So then it runs this statement right here. Now, if I say else if, like so, y less than -1, let's see what happens. Bert. So now let's see what happens. Fred and Susan. Well, wait a minute. It didn't print Bert. Why didn't it print Bert? Isn't -4 less than -1? Well, it is, but this is an else if, which means this is only going to run if the condition preceding it failed. And this didn't fail. -4 is less than 0. So because this didn't fail, that means that the following else if won't run. But an if following an if will run no matter what. So first the comparison, why is it equal to -4? Yes. Then it stumbles upon the if, and so then it runs this comparison. Y is less than 0, so yes. But now it stumbles upon the else if, and that can only execute if the preceding condition failed, and it didn't. And so that's a beginning of how conditionals work. If, else if, and finally, if you need a catch-all statement, else. Hope this was helpful. God bless you, wherever you are today.